What is up? So, after over a year and a half of the game being out, Konami finally released the new rank, which is the Master Rank. And so this season, which is Season 18, I hit Master 1, which takes a very long time. Honestly, I don't recommend it. Uh, yeah, I don't really know what else to say. It just takes like a lot of games, even though I had like a pretty high win rate. You just have to play a lot. And the other issue is that the games, especially in this format, take really, really long. Like even standard ones, like just to do the tier limit combo, um, takes quite a while, even if uninterrupted. But when your opponent's playing the mirror match, or if they're just playing like Dragon Link with Bystials, which is you'll see in one of the replays, the matches tend to take a very, very long time. So honestly, I would not recommend going to Master 1. But I played tier limits this season. I played a couple different builds, so I'm just putting that out there as a disclaimer. I did change some of the cards around in the replays, that's why they're different. Because I did keep changing stuff throughout the season based on what I was playing against and what was working and what wasn't. So here's the deck list that I finally settled on after climbing through the ranks and making a bunch of changes along the way based on what I was playing against and what worked and what didn't work. The build that I originally started with played the Branded and High Spirits package, which I'll show after this, but this is the final list that I ended on. I'm not going to go through all the tier names and stuff because that I explained in my previous video. And if you played against the deck, you know already what all these cards do. But yeah, the new additions since the selection pack dropped, which is actually a really, really good selection pack, I guess, in terms of power level. The Bystials, so I played one of each. I don't think you need to honestly play more of that. You can play like 2 Baldrake. That's not a bad idea necessarily, but I wanted to have flexibility with the other spots. So a new addition that I put in is Gameciel. Gameciel is extremely good in a variety of different matchups. Not only is he an Aqua, so if you mill him, you can just fuse with him. It's also good for outing like any problematic boss monsters. A lot of people play like Avermax to counter Tyr, because Tyr generally has a hard time dealing with that card. But yeah, it helps deal with that. It helps in the mirror match also, because if they have like Kikolos plus Solic Past, it is very possible to lose that game if they resolve Solic against you, essentially. So having the Gameciel to get their tier name off board is very nice. And yeah, it's 3 Ash, 3 Maxi, obviously. And yeah, I played 3 Ash this time because Maxi does still really hurt this deck. Like the only cards that this deck realistically loses to are Maxi and Dimension Shifter. Dimension Shifter you can't realistically do anything about, and I don't think you really need to because it's only at 2 in this game, and most decks aren't even playing it, so you're not going to have to deal with it too much, thankfully. But yeah, but Maxi is extremely annoying, of course. So I put in the 3 Ashes, and I even played the 1 Crossout because it also helps in the mirror match, and against Sprite because they also play Bystials. Helps against Naturia Runic because they play these. It's just a very nice versatile card. I'd probably play more than 1 if it wasn't at 1. Another change that I made was 3 Scream. So without the names all being at 3, this deck does still have that a bit of a consistency issue compared to what it was like in the TCG. So 3 Scream is very good. Multiple Solics, 1 Crime, Heartbeat, of course, is self-explanatory. It's also just very good in the mirror match. I put Foolish back in. It's just an additional copy of a starter / extender, or a copy of Snow, in addition to the one that you already have. Sadly, there's only 1 copy of Pearl Rhino. I mean, you can play like the Rainbow Bridge package, but you're adding like 2 bricks, and then like the Foolish Burial Goods as well. And I don't think that's worth it because it's going to cause you to brick. I think the deck list is like pretty tight. Going into the extra deck, most of it's pretty self-explanatory, except for Beatrice. So I did put Beatrice in because we did actually get Garura, to my surprise. This was a TCG exclusive card, but the card is insanely good. You don't need to play Super Poly for this card to be good. In fact, you make it like plenty of times without needing Super Poly, because it gets you a draw. It's a level 6. He also attacks for double battle damage, which is cool. And yeah, so Garura plus any of the Bystials, or 2 of the Bystials, can overlay into Beatrice. And once you summon Beatrice, you basically win the game because, I mean, that should be pretty self-explanatory. You can send anything It can get you to engine, and it does everything. Bagooska is there because of D-Shifter, and it's also nice because of the targeting protection. You'll see in one of the replays, if they have cards that can like pop, like the Branded Beast, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, Branded Beast. Having this guy in attack position, he can't be targeted. It can let you make Zeus and clear the board. Underworld Goddess, like I mentioned before, Abramax is a thing. There's also just like other problematic boss monsters, Psychic and Punisher, and just any other random crap that you can run into. It's also just very good against Branded, because when you're trying to like OTK them, it can be difficult sometimes, because they might have like Masquerade coming back from the graveyard. They can have Bystials, they can have Alibur coming back from grave, and Goddess can like negate one of these. Then of course one of the biggest new additions to the deck is Sprite Sprint. This card should be banned. I've been calling it to be banned in the TCG for quite a while, but yeah, it sends Merly for effect. Then you can activate Merly. Like, what else can you say? One of the strongest interactions in this deck is if your opponent disrupts you, you can make Dark, steal a Dark from their graveyard. Ideally, you can steal their Magnamut and then get Magnamut's effect, which is amazing. And then just link those two into Sprint, send Merly, and then you just keep comboing off from there. Makes it a lot harder for this deck to get stopped. And then also the other effective Sprint, which people forget, it can literally bounce your opponent's monster. You can only use one of its effects per turn, but on your opponent's turn, if you have like Dweller up or just any of the Xyz monsters, you can just bounce any of their monsters, and it's absolutely amazing. The card is completely broken. And also in the main deck, we have Triple Tactics Talent with how many, again, like the Bystials. Taking the Bystials is nice to be able to link into Dark and make that play that I just talked about. But also looking at their hand, taking control if they have like a tier monster on board to turn off their traps. It's just a very good card. And with that, I will show you the other deck list that I'm playing. It was the Branded and High Spirits version. It has some advantages over this version, but also some disadvantages. So this is the Branded and High Spirits version. As you can see, there have been some changes in the text slots that I had to take out. So in this version, you can't really afford to fit Ash, unfortunately. But yeah, basically what the package is, it's 3 Branded and High Spirits, 1 Cartesia, and 1 Albion the Shrouded Dragon. So basically what this allows you to do, the wording on this card, Branded and High Spirits, is a little confusing. But basically if you have this card plus any of your Dark tier limits names in your hand, you can send Rule Colorless. You can send that tier monster from your hand to the grave and Rule Colorless for effect, and then search Cartesia. So that triggers your tier names and allows them to fuse, and then you also have Cartesia. And this allows you to make a Barone line, which you'll see in the first replay that I show. But what the advantage of this is that it allows you to play around Bystials, actually. So your opponent will need actually 2 Bystials to stop even one of your fusion summoning. And that's because when you use this card and you send your tier name from hand and your Rule Colorless, you'll have no monsters on board at that point when you're trying to fuse, so their Bystials are not a quick effect, because it's only a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. And basically you'll be able to have Rule Colorless up before they get an opportunity to even activate a Bystial. And then you can make Barone after that. So it's pretty good. It also has recursion. So Cartesia, if a fusion monster was sent to your graveyard, it can add itself back in the end phase. High Spirits can do the same thing, but you can only use one of its effects per turn. Yeah. So I think the advantages of it are pretty obvious. The disadvantages are also pretty obvious, because you can brick on these. If you open like these plus the Ishizu cards, it's not great. You can kind of solve that problem by playing El Shaddoll Construct in your extra deck, because it is a fairy with, I think, 2500 defense, or either 2500 defense or attack. So that can make this card live, but I don't think it's worth it. The extra deck is very tight. And Albion is good. You do need to play this card, because if you draw like Cartesia or this card, it might blank the Branded and High Spirits, and Albion can both dump another one from deck and put himself on bottom of deck, and then get you a draw. So he's like a nice kind of upstart goblin. Saronir also can send Branded and High Spirits when he's sent to graveyard. So just keep that in mind. He can send a Bystial or a Branded Spell or Trap. So you can send this. Yeah, with that I will go into some replays. First I will show off the Branded and High Spirits package and how that works. So here I'm going first. I open Branded and High Spirits plus a tier name. Usually it's best to send Happiness first, because Merly you might be able to use send later off Sprint, and then Sharon you can use with Time Tape Reader. But yeah, so it sends Happiness and Rukalos, and then you search Cartesia. So now you can trigger Happiness Diffuse, and they cannot activate any Bystials at this point because you don't have any monsters on board, so it's not a quick effect. So then you make Kit. They still can't activate Bystials because you don't have any lights or darks in Grave. So now you summon, okay, so now you normal summon the Cartesia. You activate Kit's effect targeting itself. Then you Chainlink to activate Cartesia. So this lets you fuse the Kit and the Rhinoheart into Rukalos again. And then Kit will revive the Rhinoheart from Grave because it doesn't target. It's just basically how these chains work. So Chainlink 2 is Rukalos, makes Rukalos. Then you summon back the Rhinoheart from Grave. And then now they can Bystial you, but you have Rukalos. So you can negate one of them. Okay, so now we trigger both. So I make Garura with one of them because it's a level 6. And Kaleido with the other one. So now you get to make Barone and you get a draw. Not the best draw, but whatever. Then Barone, you can pop the Kaleido Heart. Always remember that you can do this. It gives you a free card, basically. So now I have both Crime and Stolik. And then Cartesia will add itself back in the end phase. Good luck breaking this board, it's pretty hard. My opponent activates the Bellion. Gets his Magnamut. I'm going to cram that to get it out of the way and also get a Shuffler and Grave. So I guess the Keldor that I drew comes in handy. My opponent also has Jewish Worm. I'm just going to negate and destroy that. Try to bring it back. The chain's called by. I'm just going to shuffle back now because I'm going to use it anyways to get rid of the Lubellion. Okay. So this is like the sackiest hand I've ever seen, by the way, by my opponent. Normal summon Fallen of Albaz. Ruin negate that. And guess what his last card in hand is? Just take a second to guess what it is. Alright, you done guessing? Of course, it's Branded Fusion. But I have the Solix, so get fucked. So yeah, even my opponent opening the absolute god hand, I still win. Easy clap. Next we have another going first game. This one, if you open Cartesia but not the Branded High Spirits itself, this just shows like a different way to do a similar combo. I believe my opponent tries to interrupt me this time because they have Medora. So I just let him use it and get rid of a Shuffler because it doesn't really hurt me at this point, since I've already gotten to play. I make Dweller because I know what he's on. So now you basically do the same thing, except you're summoning the Merly instead because I don't have the Reinhardt. So Magnamut. So yeah, even though the Rukalos left the field, the Magnamut still gets negated and destroyed because that's the first part of the effect, which is very nice for me. Since you're playing 3 traps, the Heartbeat often comes in clutch. When it's sent to graveyard by card effect, you can add back a spell or sorry, a branded trap, a Tear Laments trap. Sorry. Okay. Now we can of course make Garura. Instead of making Barone here, I'm going to make Dark because opponent sent a Magnamut, which is free real estate. I also draw talents off of that, which is nice. I can see he has nothing else at the moment. Now I get a free search with Magnamut, and then I make Elf instead of Sprint since I've already used Merly. Then in the end phase I search, add back, Cartesia add back. pluses are just crazy. Dweller. Opponent does that, but that doesn't work. And then on summon I do that, and he's lost as soon as he sees that I mill a monster. Now we have going second. This one is pretty wild. But this is with the regular build, not with the High Spirits package. So my opponent goes full Melfi Sprite combo. Thought about scoping, but you never know. You never know with these players what you can get away with. I just go Sarnir here to get him on board because he threatens beating over Elf/IP next turn. Okay, so he goes Melfi with the Forest, which sets up Herald of the Arclight on my turn. And he has Starter as well for red. Jeez. So he's got everything. Elf, IP, red, carrot, and then this setup. Okay, so I draw Talon's Return, that's nice. But at this moment it's not going to be enough because he has carrot and he's going to be able to set up Herald of the Arclight, which is an Omni Negate. And a Floodgate against this deck. So he goes into Avermax. This is what I was talking about. Normally this card would be hard to out, but thankfully I'm playing a certain card in my extra deck. The key is how to get there. So I activate all three here. He chains to go into Herald of the Arclight because it'll make my mills get banished. Okay, so I go into Garura because I desperately need a draw. So dark. He's deciding to wait on his interruptions. So here I choose to target his Gigantic because if I target his IP, I have a feeling he's going to negate it. So I feel like he is less likely to negate the Gigantic because it doesn't really do anything on my field. But it does do something, because it gives me the body that I need to make Underworld Goddess. So Underworld Goddess permanently negates all of his monsters. Tries to Avermax it, but it's unaffected because Avermax does not target. So now I Talons. I need to look at his hand. I can't risk him having an Ash, for example, which he does. Otherwise, this play won't work. So you heartbeat your own spell or trap. Sometimes you gotta do this. I send the Solek to search Sharon, which I haven't used the hand effect. Unfortunately, I actually whiff off this, which is very sad, but it's still somewhat difficult for him to deal with Underworld Goddess. He has to commit quite a bit. So there goes Starter for blue. And oh yeah, I should also mention I do have Keldo Engrave as well. The big Soul Sweeper, that's one of his ways of dealing with it. Banishes it, because it does target. So he makes Elf. Tries to revive IP. I do have to shuffle it back. But now he decides to make his IP. Again. Sets one. And then he summons this. Okay, so now I go Rhinoheart. He summons off the red. I force him to use red to negate. At this point, he doesn't chain IP, because I think in his extra deck he's playing Access Code instead of Unicorn. So I'll go into Redoer, and now he's in a bad spot, because I can just make Zeus, or I can use Redoer's effect to go into a fusion. GG. Next we have one of the wildest games I've ever had on Master Duel. So I'm going first, but this hand is actually a brick, so I just pass. So not a great start, obviously, but this does happen sometimes. I see that he's playing Dragon Link. Luckily the Maxi does resolve. He draws two. Now goes into the boy himself, Chaos Ruler, which is something that I can hit with Kalbeck. I'm going to have to fast forward through this because this duel is 9 turns long and it was very grueling. So now his Maxi resolves. I chain Druid's Worm at this point to not give him a free draw. And get rid of Lebellion. So he uses Levianeer here to pop. So I activate Druid's Worm and then I chain Saronir, targeting his Seyfert. Because Seyfert can add back Levianir, and his effect summon is not his effect. His summon procedure is not once per turn, so he could just summon it again. So I get rid of the Seyfert, so he can't do that. Magnamut, unfortunately, summons that. Baldrake. I think I forgot to use Magnamut, but it did not really make a difference. Okay, Havnus. Kelbeck, there's a lot going on here. These matches are very complicated. So I dodged the Kelbeck, or I dodged the Called By with Snow, so I needed to resolve to give me a chance. I hit a Shuffler. I start fusing. I book his Baldrake because Baldrake is an interruption. If I fuse, he can like tribute one to banish my fusion. So now I need to shuffle to get rid of his Libellion. So now we go into Kaleido. Kaleidos, but this is still turn 2, by the way. My opponent's turn. Chaos Space searches White Dragon. Oh yeah, I was playing Imperm at this time as well. Okay, he does the interaction with Recharger. Savage Dragon. And then he's basically run out of gas at this point. Because I've stopped everything that I can. He's used like all the Bestials. So he beats over what he can. But he had to use a lot of his cards to get to this point. And I have a bunch. So I Imperm his Savage Dragon. Kaiju his Bestial so that he can't use Branded Beast. He uses Sharon, he ashes it, but that triggers a Guido, which can just summon himself from hand. I got Merlian Scream. The Crime's Graveyard effect getting back my banished Havnus, which is nice. Dark. To get the Baldrake. We go into Sprint. You always have to manage your resources. With Merly at 2, you got to make sure that your Merly is... You still have 1 in the deck, and I do, so... Okay, then we make Kit. Veiler's the Kit. And unfortunately I can't do anything else at this point either. So I've already normal summoned. There's no way for me to summon Havnus. So then I set Imperm in this column to negate this. This is just crazy, isn't it? Okay, so he tries to attack. I Snow to protect my Kit. Also triggers this, and it triggers Imperm. Yeah, this is very complicated. That triggers Havnus, he has Druid's Worm, of course. Beats over Sprint. Beats over Snow. And he summons Libellion again. And he makes Spheres, which is annoying, of course. So now he's in a good position. I need to put my stuff back and his. Okay, draw another Kaiju, that's good. I do hit the Baldrake. I mean, if I tribute the spheres, you can just summon another thing from deck. Plus, I don't want my thing getting banished by Baldrake. So now I make 2 fusions. Kaleido. And Mud Dragon. So Kaleido target, I do have to sacrifice my Kaleido now. There's no way to play around it in the end. Now I chain Havnus. He bounces Mud Dragon. I summon Havnus. Then he has to put back my thing for Branded Regain. Okay. And he Magnamut. And then I use Snow. Book his thing. Now at this point he chooses not to use his beast because he doesn't want to pop my Snow because I can just bring it back. So I make Bagooska in attack position. This is what I was mentioning before. Because you can't target it. So I just make Zeus. Wipe. And at this point, I actually had not used Havnus, I believe. but I was on like 1 second, so I couldn't click. I had to like keep spamming right click because I was like 1 second away from losing on time. I just had to pass and pray that he couldn't kill me. So he has Baldrake. I do choose to summon Snow here to give me that one extra body. And if all else fails, one thing you can do is if Snow gets destroyed, then you can use Zeus's other effect to attach a card. A lot of people forget about that effect. I've forgotten about it plenty of times as well. Okay, so we change Zeus to attack, change Rhinoheart. Ashes the Rhinoheart. We're still going. It's turn 7. Snow beat over it. Zeus. He still has Baldrake in hand, I believe. And I make Redoer. He uses effect to attach. I just get a monster, which is annoying. So he makes Baldrake, he summons it. He goes to battle, but this is a complete bait. So he tries to... He thinks I'm going to use Redoer's effect, but I choose not to. So that I can use Zeus's effect to attach. Then I attach Garura from my extra deck, because it can attach from anywhere. Then I use Zeus's effect to wipe, because now he has 2 materials. He uses Cloud Bile on Snow. I just let it go at this point, because like I don't have enough material to banish. Then I get the draw, which gives me a 1 card in deck. He sets 1. And I draw the last card of my deck. Normal summon Merely, and then attack for game. Jesus! Yeah. That was one of the craziest games I've ever had at Master Duel. That's all for the video. Thanks for watching. This is my Master Duel ID. Feel free to follow me. I will make my replays public. I'm probably not going to do the Master 1 climb again because it just took really long. Or at least probably not until they completely axed tier. Which I don't know if it's going to happen anytime soon. So you're going to release Kashtira probably at full power. And then have them go at it for a while to make more money. So it's rough. But yeah, it is what it is. Thanks for watching. Peace.